Well, as you can see, you got three Packers fans here at one table. When you have that, there's only one thing you can say. Go, Pack, go. 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 Let's do this, allegedly. Welcome to another episode of Allegedly Podcast. I am Lucas. Today I'm joined by two of my Green Bay Packer fandom brothers, Noah Shepard and Todd Gruden. Thank you guys for being here. You guys look great, dressed for the occasion. Love it. Love everything about this. If you can't tell, we're going to be talking about Green Bay Packers. Whether you like that or you don't, that's up to you. But just as a disclaimer, we will be doing hopefully more of these. This is just honestly the first one because Green Bay Packers is my favorite team, and obviously these two's favorite team. Thank you for being on here, guys. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to be here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem,
really appreciate it.
Well, we'll start with the obvious question. How'd you guys become Green Bay fans? I was going to say, Noah, you want to go first?
Yeah. So growing up, my dad was never a really big football fan. But my stepdad was, so I kind of started watching football with him, not really paying attention to, not really having a team. The first Super Bowl that ever came to memory of mine was the 2010 Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Steelers and Packers. And I remember just as a kid, I loved watching wrestling growing up.
Yeah.
So I got to see Aaron Rodgers hold up the belt, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
And from that point moving forward, I'm like, this is my guy. That's my team. So.
Oh no,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's one of the best moments you can pick to become a fan of Green Bay. Todd, how about you?
I'm kind of a similar situation. I mean, growing up, my dad was always a Seattle Seahawks fan, which is kind of really obscure. I'm from the Cleveland area, and growing up, a lot of my friends were Browns fans, but the Browns were terrible my whole life growing up. I mean, they were never good. It was never fun to watch. It's just constant disappointment. And I'm like, well, I can't just be stuck here rooting for this team my whole life. So I ended up going with the Packers because, like Noah said, that's one of the earliest Super Bowls I can remember is that Super Bowl 45.
Yeah.
No. Watching that game was electric. I mean, watching Aaron Rodgers light everything up. And then I also have a family influence from my uncle. Mm-hmm. He's a big Packers fan. My cousins are big Packers fans. So, I mean, they were some of my closest family members growing up. So they played a pretty big influence too.
Okay. I can see that. So it's funny you kind of say that. So, my dad, huge Lions fan, and obviously – I was born in 95, so that began the just low down, just Lions just weren't doing great, and I people always ask my father, it's like, why isn't your son a Lions fan? How do you sell a losing team to a kid? So I kind of feel like I became a Green Bay fan. My great grandfather, who I spent a decent amount of time with, he was always a big Brett Favre fan. He always wore his Brett Favre. I have his Brett Favre jersey now. He was just a huge Brett Favre fan. I became a huge Brett Favre fan, and watching them for years and then seeing that Super Bowl too, it just makes it all worth it just to be a fan for that long and finally see your team win that Super Bowl. And again, you guys, that was probably one of your first times. That was the first time I actually saw them win a Super Bowl. I've been alive for 50% of them, but it's the first one, when you see your team win the Super Bowl, it's like right there, you're like, I'm riding with this team because I want to see them do it again because I know it's going to be that much more emotional when it happens again. But no, I feel you guys. That's awesome. Who do you think your favorite Green Bay player is of all time? Here, how about we make it a little more interesting? Top 3 Green Bay players. Obviously, I assume ones that you've watched, but it can be guys you didn't see, but just know of their accolades and everything like that. We'll start with Todd. We'll start on over there.
So one of my top favorite Packers players of all time, definitely got to be Jordy Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
I loved watching him grow up. He's one of those wholehearted guys, grew up on a farm, raised right, and he's just the most Packers kind of player ever. Real salt of the earth. He knows how to put the work in. He was not a real big talk guy. He let his play show for him.
Oh, yeah.
Another one of my top Packers players, definitely Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I've grown up watching him my whole life, just watching him sprout into the QB he was. I mean, he sat behind Favre for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he had so much learning to do because he was really raw coming out of college. He looked his throwing motion was awful.
Oh yeah, no, it was that, and that's what I was gonna say. He got berated for a lot of things, but Green Bay made it obviously a great choice when they picked him, and even though it was controversial at the time, but
Yeah, it always is.
yeah, when Green Bay takes a quarterback, it's controversial, I guess, or at least that's how it has been.
Yeah. And then third, I mean, it's going to be kind of obvious, but I mean, Clay Matthews. Again, he's another one of those players that's just, when you think of the Packers, you think of him.
Oh, yeah. No,
Like,
absolutely. It's the only, because, yeah, he didn't play anywhere else after Green Bay.
I don't think
Because
so.
I think they cut him, and he didn't play anywhere else. So
He played for the Rams.
Oh yeah, he
did play for the
did.
Rams for
He
a
did
little
play
bit.
for the Rams for a little bit, and then I think it was over.
Yeah,
Okay,
there might have been one other team in there, but I don't even think he touched the field.
No, I don't think. I think you're right about the Rams. I think after that he retired. Noah.
Yeah, some of my answers are probably a little bit more modern. I think the obvious one is Aaron.
Yeah.
A lot of fond memories. Got to see him. Man, I think I've seen him win 3-4 MVPs.
Yeah.
Just always a great guy. Isn't afraid to speak his mind on anything.
Oh, yeah.
I think I just saw on social media him talking about running for VP.
VP with RFK Jr.
So
yeah.
he's just a character. Love the guy for that. Devontae Adams is another one.
yeah.
I always loved the way he played. Always calm, cool, collected, and he was just always that guy. Like, especially when we were talking like Rodgers not having any weapons or anything like that, he was always that guy.
Oh yeah.
And I think more recently, I love Jair.
Jair. Yeah.
Jair's a fun one.
The swagger he carries himself with. I think he's a kind of player that really a team can get behind because he carries himself well, but he also has that swagger to him.
Yeah.
Like that game against Minnesota when he stopped one pass from Jefferson and hit the gritty on him like that. It was players like that can change the game, like getting in somebody's head like that. Like Jettis couldn't do anything the rest of that game.
I mean, that first Vikings game that season, Justin Jefferson torched us.
Yeah.
Like 11 catches, like 115 yards, like 2 touchdowns. And that they were running zone the whole game. I mean, Jair couldn't go with Justin Jefferson, but the second game they played him, Jair was manned up on him like the whole game. I think he had 1 catch for 11 yards.
Yeah.
It just showed how top-notch corner he is.
Yeah, and even the playoff game against the Cowboys, like that interception he had, like that game all around was just crazy. But that like stuck out to me.
Oh yeah, no, all good choices. I feel like mine. I'm gonna go with Aaron Rodgers, obviously in my top 3, because like near the end of his time with Green Bay, obviously, I feel like there's always been some sort of like a drama when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, or like whether it be made up or real. It was always that. Like I remember I had someone tell me, I don't like Aaron Rodgers anymore. He doesn't talk to his family. I'm like, does he go out and win on Sunday? Yeah, I don't care. He can do whatever he wants as long as it's not illegal. If he's winning games for us, not a big deal. Obviously, winning 4 MVPs and a Super Bowl with Green Bay, he'll always be a guy that I like and I respect, and obviously one of the greatest Green Bay quarterbacks of all time. My second one, a guy that I feel like didn't have the like flashiest numbers, but it just felt like he showed up at the right time. This might be controversial. Geronimo Allison.
I do like Geronimo.
I love Geronimo Allison because like it was like a 3-year run. Like he was the number one, but like
always solid.
If the number 1 or number 2 receiver wasn't doing it, like you could throw it to Geronimo Allison. He was gonna make catches. He was gonna make plays. He was a great guy, and just it sucks that he was only there for a short time, but he was very reliable. He's a very reliable player, and that's what I respect. Like he did the dirty work and everything like that.
I think he's a lot like when I hear his name, I think a lot of like MVS.
Yeah.
Kind of caliber. I can always, right when you said Geronimo Allison, I could just picture one deep ball a game.
Yeah.
That might be like a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Or like
that Bears game when that comeback.
Yep.
That was Geronimo Allison touchdown in the back corner of the end zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there are some guys where I feel like Green Bay had them. They didn't see a lot of yardage, a lot of stats, but they were, when it came down to clutch time, they were going to make plays. And even now, like you look at some of Green Bay's young receivers, like a lot of them are like that. Like because Green Bay has always been known as that team where they spread the ball out. Normally not one guy. just this past season, it was like every month it was a different leading receiver, which is awesome because you don't know who to guard.
No, you can't.
Because it's like when you play Minnesota, like you need to guard Justin Jefferson. When you play Kansas City, guard Travis Kelce. For Green Bay, it's like, who are you going to guard? Because if you pick one guy, another guy is going to be wide open, whether that be the tight ends, whether it be the slots. Like, it's crazy. I feel like Green Bay's had that kind of history of that. And I have to go with my number one because it was the guy that I think just kind of solidified me being a Green Bay fan. Because, like I said, my great-grandfather loved Brett Favre. But when Green Bay drafted A.J. Hawk to the Packers, because at the time I was a big Ohio State fan and loved A.J. Hawk, loved those three linebackers that were coming out of Ohio State. A.J. Hawk got drafted by Green Bay, and just he was a rock. That was he was the rock of our defense for so long. Like, even after the Super Bowl and we couldn't win, he was still there for years. Obviously, eventually we released him. He went to the Bengals and Atlanta for a bit. But he all-time leading tackles in Green Bay history. I feel like half my family had A.J. Hawk jerseys. Like, I loved A.J. Hawk. He's best Packer. In my mind, my favorite Packer. So, no, look, A.J. Hawk. And now he he does time on Pat McAfee shows, which is even cooler. Does. He's still around, and he's pretty I shouldn't say outspoken, but just it's good to see that he's still around and he's putting his face out there through the Pat McAfee show and everything like that. But no, so let's talk. How many Packer games have you guys been to? It doesn't have to be at Lambeau because I'll be the first one to say I've never been to a game at Lambeau. But I've been to Packers games. I've been to multiple ones to go see Detroit versus Green Bay in Detroit. I've seen Green Bay play in Pittsburgh, and I've seen them play in Cleveland. You guys, what does it say?
I've been to two. I went to one at Lambeau. I went to a season opener, I believe, in 2016 against the Seahawks. I went with my dad, my cousins, and all that, my uncle. It was a great time. I mean, getting to go tailgate, walk around there, see the culture in Green Bay while it was still warm, which was really nice. I didn't have to freeze my butt off and just try not to get hypothermia.
Oh, yeah, no. I'll just sidebar a little bit. Because you went in 2016. I don't think Titletown was built until maybe a few years later. I'm not real sure. I can't remember exactly. But, no, I know what you mean. You going at the beginning of the season, I went with some family members to Green Bay last game of the season, and you're walking around. It's cold, it is, but it's crazy how many people are still outside, still enjoying the festivities. Just it's like whether you're going to the game or not, like it is absolutely insane. It is. I love it. Yeah, city of Green Bay is crazy on game day. Noah?
Yeah, so I've been to one preseason game. So I actually went to that one this past season. It was against Cincinnati, and it was nice because the team is like, obviously it's a youth movement in Green Bay, so I really got to see a lot of these young players like Love, Dobbs, whoever be out on the field, and just kind of get to see different names, make different kind of impacts. Like I even saw Sean Clifford play a little bit because that's when they weren't really sure who the two was going to be. So I went and saw that one. I've been to one actual game, which again was in Cincinnati, and I want to say it was either 2020 or 2021. It was the game where Crosby and McPherson combined missed like four field goals to it, and Crosby ended up kicking the game winner, and like, that was an awesome experience. Like I hadn't been able to get the opportunity to go to Lambeau. I really want to. But even our fan base just travels really well. Like I was up at about as high as you can be. I think tickets were like $100 a seat. But my whole section was like Green Bay fans. So like the Go Pack Go chants, like everything, it was like awesome, and like just what a game. Like I was up on my feet the whole overtime. I remember that was the year Devondre Campbell broke out. He had a pick at overtime, which set up another missed field goal by Crosby. But it was just what a game.
I feel you there. I was gonna say, since you only had one game, I was gonna say, Todd, out of your two games, which one do you think was there like a moment? Kind of, I feel like Noah kind of says it, like there were moments in that game that were really awesome. Were there a moment or one of those games that you would say were better. But I assume just going to Lambeau
was a lot better because the game I went to in Detroit, that was the end of the season. They're 13-3, locked in the number 1 seed already.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers played the first half, and that was it. We got beat by the Lions because the Lions pulled out every trick play they had.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there, I'm like, man, I know we're going to win this in the end, but like... Because we're the first seed in the playoffs. We do not care if we win this game. We are not trying to hurt any starters.
Exactly.
But I'm like, it's still nice to get to see my team play in person.
Oh yeah, no,
But,
it's one of those things where you go to see your team. It's just a different feeling. Like watching at home, like you have those nerves and you're like, I hope we win this game. Mm-hmm. You go to the game and you're just like, I really want to see him win. So I just have to say the most memorable game I went to was the first time me and my dad went to Green Bay and Detroit, and of course. Going that year, it was the Hail Mary game, and there's nothing. I will never, to the end of my game. Oh yeah, no, to the end of my days, I will never forget that moment. Just all I did that entire time, because we were up way high, but all I did, I just watched Aaron Rodgers roll out, and I just watched the ball. I didn't even watch what was happening. I just watched the ball, and I just see white gloves just catch it, and I just sit there and I'm like, I just look around like, did we just do that? Like, I could not believe what I had just seen. And like just watching the replays and highlights of that game, it just takes me back every time. Just that same feeling where you're like, we just did one of the most craziest plays. And then it was like the very next, I don't know if it was later that season or next year when we did when we did that Hail Mary against like Arizona in the playoffs.
That was that same season.
Okay, I thought so. I couldn't remember if it was
2013 or something like that.
When he did that again, and I just sat there. I'm like,
15?
Something like that.
Yeah, no, it was 15. It was 2015 season. I just like at that was I think the season where it was just like everyone looks around like Aaron Rodgers is just different. Like, he just. Like, give him a minute, he'll win a game. It didn't matter. Because that was the other thing, too. I have watched multiple Green Bay versus Cowboy games with my buddy Josh, who's a big Cowboys fan. And I always feel bad because I'm just like, dude, it's just not. Cowboys versus Packers the past couple years, every year, every time they play, it's like, just watch it because it's probably going to be it's going to be very close and it's going to be a very interesting game. Mm-hmm. And you can just. This year, because I went in. So I guess I'll just roll us into this next question. How did you feel about this past season? Like, I can start with this because because my mom, being a Green Bay fan, she'll always come to me because she's like, what should I expect for the season? So I always tell my mom. So going into the season, I'm like, Mom, this is a down year. We have young guys. They got to get ready. Not all of them are ready for this, but we're probably, if anything, we should go at or around 500. I just said, like, this is a young team. I can't tell you we're going to make playoffs. I really hope we do, but that was just where we started, where we ended, crazy. Noah.
I kind of felt the same way. Knew it was going to be down here. I honestly probably wasn't even expecting 500. I thought we were going to probably be below. But I was more excited to see this young team develop. Love, obviously, see what he really had, like really see if he was going to be the guy for the future. If maybe he was just going to be a bridge guy. Yeah. And these young receivers and stuff like that. And like, I really thought that it wasn't going to be that great of a season. And obviously it turned out to be better. Yeah. There's still some games I think it could have been better. There's some games they shouldn't have lost, like that Raiders game. I think I was watching that one with you.
Yeah. We watched the Lions game at the bar together, and I think I can't remember if it was that game or it was the Raiders game where I looked at you. I'm like, we are just a few passes away from winning some of these games, and that also gives you hope too, where you're like, if you're only a few passes away and you lose a game, like you can just sit there. You're like, moving forward, that's just something they're going to look at and hopefully improve on.
And like that's the thing, when we were having conversations like that, I got me thinking of free agency. Yeah. I'm like, man, maybe we go get a guy like Mike Evans, like maybe spend a little bit of money. Yeah. And then we get towards the end of the season, we have Dontavian Wicks, like Bo Melton, these guys who like
came out
shouldn't even be like top receivers actually making plays. Like, and I think that's a lot of credit to Love. I think he that I look at that throw that he made to Wicks against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like that's not a just average quarterback throw. That's a almost elite talent right
Oh,
there.
yeah. Absolutely.
Personally, I kind of felt a little disappointed in the defense. I do think that's Joe Barry. I'm not a big fan of his, to be honest.
I don't think any of us were.
No.
But I think they could have played better. I think there were some games we lost because they played kind of not
soft.
great.
Yeah.
But overall, happy with the season. Excited for this next one. Should be a fun division next year too. Like I'm sure we might get into that. Like, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But I think this team could at least make a wild card, make a playoff, make some noise. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'll come back to some of your comments because I got something to add to a few of those. So Todd, I was gonna say what were your expectations at least?
So going into this, I was like hoping for 7 wins. I was like, this is gonna be a rough year, but it's needed. It has to happen. We're just trying to get these guys experience, try and get them some actual looks because we had a lot of young receivers. Our oldest receivers were second years.
Yeah.
It was Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. They're our oldest receivers. They're 23.
Yeah.
They are kids. Like they have just been given the keys to the kingdom. I mean, they have. We've now found out. I mean, Jordan Love is showing out as he can do this. He can be a top tier talent. And I was really nervous about Jordan Love going into this season. I was really hoping this is how he would end up.
Yeah.
But to start the season, he definitely scared me a lot because, 5 games early on in the season, they had a chance. Green Bay has the ball, a minute and a half left.
And
2-minute drill, and Jordan Love threw it away 4 out of the 5 times. And I was like, man, we are that close to winning a lot of these games. I mean, we don't lose those. We make those drives. We make half of them. We are sitting at 11 or 12 wins. I mean, that's crazy for a team this young.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like you were talking about with Bo Melton and
Dontavian
Wicks. All these young receivers were making huge plays. I mean, none of us ever expected that. I mean, Dontavian Wicks, don't get me wrong, he's kind of reminded me a little bit like Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
The way he runs his routes, I see a lot of that in him. It's giving me hope, but I mean, I don't want to put too much on them because again, they are young.
Oh yeah.
Like they have a lot to learn still, but Jaden Reed really was what I hoped he'd be. Jaden Reed was exactly what I hoped he'd be. Yeah. Great slot threat, really quick guy, put him in motion, something, just give him a short little pass, let him go, and make some moves.
Absolutely. No, just the offense came together, and as we said, it was young. They're still young. It's crazy how young they were, and they stepped up, and again, as I said before, there was a different receiver leading in receiving yards every month for them.
Yeah.
Which just makes me even more hopeful for the future. And Jordan Love got better as the season went on. Like you said, he missed some throws, but as the season went on, he started making those throws. And definitely the biggest downer for Green Bay was that defense. The defense at the end of the season did not reflect how poorly they played during most of the season. Because how many teams gave up 30 points to Carolina?
Yeah, Carolina 30
One,
points.
and that was Green Bay. I remember watching that game, and they snapped the ball, but the time was up, and I just sat there. I'm like, if we would have lost that game, Joe Barry would have been fired that day, or at least he should have. If we would have lost that game, he should have been. But, we came close. I remember, I saw the time tick off. I just turned the TV off. I'm like, holy cow, that was bad. We won, but that was so bad.
We did not win that game.
Part of me makes me think that, the fact that the performance that game and them keeping Joe Barry around, I think the reason being could be because I think at that point they were making a playoff push. And I think if you're a team making a playoff push, or potentially already in a wild card slot, I think the last thing you want to do is fire a key part of the staff, and they stopped the Cowboys. They did a good job there. I don't know what Joe Barry thought differently between the Panthers and the Cowboys, but they somehow accomplished it, and but I think that's the last thing you want to do is fire a key part of your staff going into the playoffs.
But that was the thing that scared me was we can't. At the end of the season, the defense had picked up their gameplay. They looked pretty good, but I'm like, you got to get rid of him. You can't allow that beginning of the season stuff, because that was the thing. Once our offense got good, that showed how bad our defense was. And now I'm excited going into the draft. We obviously with the main free agents we've signed, Josh Jacobs, who will be replacing Aaron Jones, unfortunately, and Xavier McKinney coming into our secondary. We're putting pieces in place there. Now Green Bay's just got to do, Brian Gutekunst's got to do what he has done very well the past couple years, draft talent. Any predictions on, you don't got to name a name. I'm just going to be very generic on what I'm going to say. Green Bay's taking a defensive player in the first round. There's no question in my mind. I feel like our offensive line is very good, is pretty good. David Bakhtiari, his release, I think a lot of people saw coming. Just after he signed that big contract, just injury after injury. It's unfortunate he had to go, but I think Green Bay stays tried and true, and they go defensive player, probably best available who's over there. I was gonna say we've usually taken like secondary, but I feel like we're probably take a linebacker or like a defensive tackle.
I feel like a safety might be a really good bet if there's a top talent safety.
Yeah,
I think because if Jair comes back, I mean he is a free agent, I believe, this year, isn't he?
Is he?
No.
I don't think so. No, he would have been signed by now.
Well, I was saying, not free agent. Sorry, his contract is coming up soon though. So they do need to give him a deal. Yeah,
either give him a deal or get someone to kind of sit next to him and get ready to take his spot.
Eric Stokes is not that guy.
Eric Stokes is not, but Carrington Valentine, I love the emergence of him this season because he has that same swagger that Jair has.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a little bit smaller, but he's I think he is top-notch man coverage corner right now. Because, I mean, he's got that swagger to him where he's not scared to go up against your best receiver. He will stay on him as best he can. And he will talk his talk. I mean, let him do what he does.
No, I know we lost Jonathan Owens. We lost a couple guys in the secondary. We'll have to they'll have to put that back together. But I was gonna say the draft just gets me excited because I know just gotta be watching out who they're gonna pick. Our defensive line just is. I shouldn't say we're gonna take defensive line. We have a defensive line that's basically already set.
We have Carl Brooks.
Yeah, we got BGSU legend Carl Brooks, but we also got Kenny Clark. We just our whole front. He's coming through. Basically every guy on our front line, like they're good. It's basically who are they going to double team and who's going to be left free. Carl Brooks, I can't talk enough about Carl Brooks. It's obviously because, and Noah can attest, every time I see Carl Brooks on the defensive line, I'll point him out and then I watch him because if he's not double teamed, he is getting through that line, and that's why I watch it and I'm like, they don't talk about him. And that was the thing that kind of, he had a fumble. I remember my favorite moment was being at Detroit versus Green Bay, and he had a fumble. He caused a fumble, and I think he recovered it too. And I just sat there and lost my mind. Yeah. I'm like, he was a fifth round pick, and he's doing so good. And that again just reflects on Brian Gutekunst and his ability to draft. And it's probably just obviously it's not just him and LaFleur probably talking together, but also we can also talk about our new defensive coordinator, Jeff Haley. Any thoughts on that? I did a little research on him, but obviously coming out of Boston, coming from coaching Boston College, his resume looks really good. I don't see anything wrong with it, but again, we won't really know until we actually see the defense playing. But any thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like anything's better than Joe Barry, personally. I just think we just got to sit and see what happens. I'm not a big watcher of college football, so I don't really know how well Boston College did this season. I know A.J. Dillon was from Boston College, so maybe now that he's back, that maybe he had some positive words or thoughts towards him. I don't know. From what I am aware, I think I've seen stuff online that he's a very defensive-minded coach. Good. Yeah. And there was some scheme. I can't remember the exact scheme he liked to run, but I know a lot of Packers fans online and stuff like that really like the scheme, and it's not as soft as like Joe Barry would play. And especially if we do something in the draft, like go grab a corner or something like that. Something Jeff could get to work with a young guy.
That would be nice. Because I know Jeff really loves his man coverage.
Yeah.
He loves playing those two-man coverage, just put my two best guys on the outside, lock you down, and let you just suffer through it. Because if I have two guys that can sit there and just stop you, I got 9 other guys that are going to ruin the rest of your offense.
Yeah.
I mean, because if the Packers do draft a cornerback with that, I mean, I think one of the guys they should go for is Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
Yep.
I love him. He's such a good talent, and I really hope the Packers get a chance to take him.
Hell yeah. I was going to say, whoever makes the team better, I'm all for. And here, I'll ask this question because I know my answer is very clear if anyone who's been around me knows. Out of the other teams in the NFC North, which team do you want? Do you want the Packers to beat twice every year? Because here's the thing, I have very much unsolicited hate for Minnesota Vikings, and this might, I think I just have to direct it at them. It's unfortunate because I have friends who are Bears fans. I respect the hell out of the Bears. My father's a Lions fan. I respect the hell out of Lions. He may not respect the hell out of Green Bay, but I respect the hell out of his team. I don't know any Minnesota fans, and I just look at Minnesota as the team I absolutely dislike. I don't want anything good to happen for them. It also might be the connection that I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. I don't really like the Twins either, so it's kind of parallels, but like Minnesota every year, that is the team I look at, and I'm like, we need to beat them twice. If we beat them twice, we're all good. Any feelings towards that, or is there...
I think that's kind of funny because as long as I remember being a Packers fan, I feel like Minnesota was always the team we never beat twice. We would usually split. I feel like when the Lions sucked, we would beat them twice. The Bears have been bad for as long as I can remember. We've always beat them twice. Like Minnesota, I feel like that's that team we always go 1-1 against, or sometimes they sweep us. I think there was the one year, I think the year we drafted Watson, I know they beat the hell out of us week 1. So I just think that's funny. Me personally, it's the Bears. Hate the Bears. Don't like losing to the Bears.
Yeah.
One of my cousin, he's a really good Bears fan, and I always like to give him like a little bit of crap during the game, stuff like that. I respect the team, but it's just the rivalry. Like it's like Ohio State and Michigan to me. Like I'm not big college football, so like Green Bay and Chicago, like that's you got to beat them. And
that's very fair. One if not the oldest rivalry in the NFL. Green Bay versus Chicago, it's there, and I don't want to lose to the Bears, but I feel like I just don't have the same hate for them as I do the Vikings. Just not about it. I'm not about the purple. Not about it. Todd,
I'm the same way with the Vikings actually, because I mean I have some people that I know that are Vikings fans that are just terrible people. I mean they're awful. Like they're just dicks. Every time they win, they are rubbing it in your face the whole time for days after the game's over. I'm like, okay. We get it. You won. Good for you. But, like, the Lions, I got a really good buddy of mine, Zach, big Lions fan. Like, I've watched the Lions games with him, and it's been fun to actually watch them grow because they were terrible for so long, but they're a fun team to watch.
Oh, yeah. No, they are. It is watching them in the playoffs, obviously, this year was awesome. And even through the season, like, this was, like, the season that they were going to hit their peak. You can tell me they did or they didn't because they didn't win a Super Bowl, but the Lions are definitely that team where we've just been kind of seeing them sit at the bottom, and we're finally seeing them start elevating. They won the division for the first time. They have now won our division more recently than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So like that was the thing to see them get over that hump, finally get that taste of winning, and it's just hard to hate them right now. It's like with Brad Holmes GM and obviously Dan Campbell MCDC just doing crazy stuff. Like I feel like Green Bay isn't really one of those crazy teams. We're pretty standard. Like I feel like everything that we do when it comes to our team, it's been relatively the same kind of process, and it works because obviously we hover between like 1 and 2 in the division when we have a very established team. Yeah. So it is good to finally get like a real change up in the division where it's not just feeling like it's Green Bay, Minnesota kind of going back and forth. Now the Lions are on the right track. They're there. Right now, Minnesota is probably, I'm going to say it, right as of right now, is the worst team in the and that's also pre-draft too. But Chicago has made a lot of moves. Obviously, they got rid of Justin Fields. But now they have that number 1 pick, and they can easily go get Caleb Williams or whoever they want. I assume it's going to be Caleb Williams.
It's got to be.
They're going to go get him, and we don't know if we're going to get CJ Stroud type season from him, or we're going to get like a Bryce Young season. We don't know. We'll have to see. But no, so.
And I think the division will actually be interesting to watch because honestly, I think Minnesota is going to get. Honestly, if they don't trade up, I think they'll get McCarthy with that 11th overall pick. But they did just make that trade recently with Houston to get the Houston pick that they got from, I want to say, Cleveland. So that's like the 22nd, something in the 20s. So they could easily package that, move up, get a guy like May, Daniels. I know I've seen stuff about the Patriots for some reason wanting to move the 3rd pick.
Yeah.
They're also a dumpster fire, too.
There's a lot of teams because it feels like the past couple of, like, I think this offseason and last offseason, it's just crazy how many quarterbacks are moving.
Yeah.
And how some people are taking chances on veteran quarterbacks. And other people are just sitting there, like, getting young quarterbacks and then drafting other quarterbacks. Like, Minnesota, if they draft a quarterback, the number one thing they need to do, and I feel like I say this about every team who I'm like, if you're going to draft a young quarterback, you got to do this. Set him. They brought in Sam Darnold. Not bad. If Minnesota has a halfway decent team because you got Aaron Jones, you're at least going to you should have a decent running game. You still got Justin Jefferson for who knows how long, but you got Sam Darnold, established quarterback. He could help at least sit whoever you draft. Just sit him. Yeah. Like, I feel like
works for the Packers.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I hate to say, but I'm like, every time I'm like, draft quarterback, sit him for 3 years, he'll be good because it's worked twice. As of right now, it's worked twice.
So far, it is working.
Yeah, so they're doing something right, and even this has happened 2 different times with like 2 different staffs, so you can't tell me it's not working. So, but no, NFC North will be very, very. It should be really fun to watch. Very competitive.
Yeah.
Lions still being the Lions. The Bears going to be drafting most likely Caleb Williams, and then Green Bay just kind of padding their roster with more young talent, and Minnesota trying to figure out what they're doing. So I'm very excited. So yeah, we're gonna beat Minnesota twice this coming season, and I'll wish for Noah that we beat Chicago twice too. Hopefully.
They've had a hell of a free agency, though. To give them some credit.
Oh, yeah, no.
Jalen Johnson, their big guy, re-signing him, that was big.
That Keenan Allen
fourth-round draft shocked me. The Chargers, that's another team that's like a dumpster fire.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what they're doing. You hire a new head coach, and then you get rid of your whole team. So
it kind of feels like they're kind of in that Green Bay mode where they kind of – They've kind of sold everything, and now they're like, we're going to build our own thing. Because I remember one of the quotes that kind of, when they drafted Jordan Love, I think a comment from one of the, I don't know if it was from Pat McAfee show or someone made it, but it was like, Green Bay, when they drafted Jordan Love in that first round, they were like, this is Brian Gutekunst saying, I'm going to build this team because it's going to be when we win, it's going to be because of me. Yeah. And that made me kind of mad in the moment. But now looking at where we are now, I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm still a little angry with what you did and what we could have had. But I'm happy where we're at. And moving forward, we're looking good. Let's go. We'll do a few more. We can talk about a few more things. How about what was the most shocking part of this entire season? Or you can even say off season too, if anything there. Here, we'll do like the NFL season, then most shocking off season. So, Todd?
All right. My most shocking thing for me, I think, was the Packers beating the Lions on Thanksgiving. That game was ridiculous.
I was there.
I loved watching that game because I had zero expectations going into that game. I did. I'm like, we're going to play the Lions. It'll probably be a decent game, but we'll probably lose. I mean, the Lions are the hottest team right now in the NFL. Yeah. They've been going crazy this season. And it's just, I mean, we've been playing okay. We're starting to get a little better, but I mean, we weren't looking great.
Yeah, no.
But we played like perfect game, pretty much. I mean, we played out of our minds. The defense forced turnovers. Jordan Love made that one throw. He threaded the needle through like 3 guys. Yeah. That throw was ridiculous. I don't know how Jay got
that
it.
Was what a throw.
It was. I'm like, if he's gonna do this, we have a chance.
Yeah. No,
I think that's honestly what kicked off the real big push at the end of the season is winning that big time game.
Oh yeah, no, you're not wrong. Again, I was at that game. That was one of the most fun Detroit Lions Packers games I've ever been at. It was crazy because like you said, you didn't really have any expectations. Me either. I just kind of went in. I'm like, okay, we have a chance to win. I didn't say we're gonna win. I said we can, but we got to play good. And our defense showed up. It got some key turnovers, and offense played great. Yeah, that was an awesome game. Noah.
For the offseason, I think obviously letting go of Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
After it kind of the Josh Jacobs signing, first of all, was like, oh, like, okay. I immediately thought, I'm like, okay, A.J. Dillon's not coming back. I'm like, I guess we're going to try and do building around our young QB. I like it. And then, like, I hopped in the shower and I got a text from Bunny. He goes, Aaron Jones is gone. I was like, what do you mean he's gone? And I think it's just because, like, just him going out, like, that Cowboys game, he had 2-3 touchdowns. That Niners game, I remember that big 50-yard run that set up the Carlson missed field goal. It was just like, man, like, and that guy, and he doesn't, no one represents Green Bay more than Aaron Jones. Like, just the swagger he carried himself with, like, but the love of the city, the love of the fans, like, no one did it better. And, and seeing him sign with Minnesota hurt. It was like, come on, man. Like,
I remember when you messaged me, and because I told Todd this, I'm like, you messaged me and was like, how do you feel? And I'm like, I was more upset than happy, but it was by a slight margin because I'm like, we signed Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
He's so good. Other than last season, Raiders didn't utilize him how they should have. But he's such a good player. He's about same. He is on it. Him and Aaron Jones are like here. Like, they're basically not the same person, but they're very good.
Yeah.
Both of them are very good. If you let them get the ball, they will be key players for you. So I was happy we got Josh Jacobs. I was more upset because Aaron Jones, like you said, and even going on social media, and everyone's like, he was a guy who, if you thought of Green Bay, you thought of Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Because he was he was a workhorse. He was the guy where, like, when these young receivers came in, it's like, we have Aaron Jones, and then all these young guys have to figure it out. And that was our workhorse. And his style, the freaking huge sunglasses, the sombrero, like, just that. And people picked up on that too. Like, you'd see people walking around with the big sombreros and the sunglasses. Like, it's really hard to think that he left and he went to Minnesota. He did that to more spite the Packers, not the fans, because I know he loves the fans. The fans, like, he's such a good guy, and it's unfortunate, but obviously he's going to a team that I hate upon, and I hope while he's there, I hope they don't win. I hope he gets all the carries and gets all the yards, but I just can't. It is heartbreaking, but no, that was definitely a shock for me.
And for me, it sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
And for me, it boiled down to it. Like, when I saw that, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and what it boiled down to me is that if we were going to do that, we had to make a move. Yeah. And, like, ever since free agency started, I was like, before even any cuts or anything were made, I'm like, I want Antoine Winfield. That's who I want. I want a safety.
That would have been sick.
Darnell Savage is going to be gone. I want a safety. Or I wanted a wide receiver. Because I look at guys like Will Levis, give him DeAndre Hopkins, and let him cook. And I was like, okay, Mike Evans, maybe we'll spend some money. And, like, that's the other unexpected thing is, like, we've actually spent money.
Yeah.
Like, we never.
Oh, yeah, no. That was also crazy. It's like when we signed Josh Jacobs and then also Xavier McKinney, like, that was a different feeling for me because I'm like, we signed some guys that weren't tight ends because I've also made that argument where I feel like Green Bay for a while was on that spending spree. We'd always get, like, the next veteran tight end, like what was it, Martellus Bennett, Jared Cook, Jimmy Graham. Yeah, like, we went through guys, and it felt like none of them really did much. Jimmy Graham was
Jimmy Graham was just hurt the whole time.
Yeah, he was hurt a lot.
Jared Cook, I love.
Jared Cook,
that big catch against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll say Jared Cook came alive in the playoffs. Like, he wasn't really, didn't do much. I think he was hurt during the regular season a lot.
Most of the regular season.
Yeah, he wasn't great. But no, we just went on that spending spree of tight ends, and it just, and then we stumbled. Then we started going through Robert Tonyan, and we still got
Bob Tonyan.
Robert Tonyan was, it's crazy to me how a lot of our receivers and guys who were so good with us, they leave and then they're
Nope.
not utilized. In that's also the thing I should have brought up, but I always feel like our star because I said how Green Bay spreads out the ball and we can make a guy look really good. I feel like every guy that's happened to, they go to other teams and they're just not the same. I guess Devontae Adams is the exception.
Yeah.
He's the exception.
just-
But you saw Jordy Nelson left. He never really got those numbers again. Greg Jennings left. He went to the Vikings. He was okay, but just it wasn't the same. I know I'm missing some. Marquez Valdez-Scantling he's been okay, but he's on a team with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That's the team. Like he has I can't remember how many rings he's got
2,
now.
I think
he's got
he
2.
has 2 now.
Lazard's
nothing.
Lazard left. He hasn't done anything. It's just one of those things where Green Bay is just so good at using what they have and making it into great talent.
Yeah.
Okay, well here we'll talk about one more thing, and then we'll wrap this in a nice pretty bow. Well, I guess. Well, I also didn't say what I thought was the most shocking. My bad. I think mine's pretty obvious. The most shocking was for me, it was winning that Cowboys game.
Yeah.
Going into that game, I'm like, this is gonna be a tough game. Like I don't see us winning, but if we play to the best of our ability, we can win. And when we took off, I just remember sitting there. And my buddy Josh, again, Cowboys fan, he just messaged me. He's like, dude, it's over. I'm like, dude, it's not. Because you do look at the final score, and you're like, that's a close game. You're like, no, it wasn't. Green Bay just hopped on the train, just ran them over, got the points up, and they're like, okay, we really don't got to do much now. We can literally just ride this out. As long as our defense slows them to make them burn clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that game, I just sat there. And then to lose the way we did against the 49ers, it sucked. But at the same time, we weren't supposed to be. That's what I kept telling my mom. My mom was mad, but I'm like, Mom, we weren't supposed to be here.
That's why I was happy. I'm like, I'm just glad we beat the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm like, we weren't supposed to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The fact that we made the playoffs, beat the number 2 seed, the first 7 seed to ever win a playoff game in the new playoff format.
Oh, yeah.
And then we make it to the divisional round and we lose to the team that ends up going to the Super Bowl. I mean, I can't be upset about that.
No.
With that young of a team.
Oh, yeah, no. I just want to make this very clear. I love my dad and everything, but he told me this. If Green Bay would have won and Detroit would have won, I would have had to buy us tickets to that playoff game because it would have been in Detroit. And I'm
They
like,
were expensive.
Yeah, I know. That's why I looked at that. I'm like, holy cow! I'm so happy we lost because I don't want to spend that money. My dad would have had to sell his truck just for us to go, and I'm like, I'm good. But no, that Cowboys win. And then just getting to play the 49ers was awesome.
It's just so heartbreaking.
On the missed field goal is the problem.
Well, it's not. It's
that's what
for me. It's always the 49ers, and this might be a very controversial take, but I don't think Brock Purdy is that great of a quarterback.
I think he's solid, but I don't think he's
talent.
I
think he's mid, and I look at every time we lose to the 49ers, Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy, guys who aren't superstar names, and they're the teams that's knocking us out, and it just sucks. And the Jordan Love that last throw, people were like, "Oh, Jordan Love's not the guy." I'm like, come on, he made a rookie mistake. That was a rookie throw. He was trying to make something happen. He had been able to make it happen all playoffs, all season, and it just was not the throw. But I'm just over losing to them in the playoffs. Hate it. Hate it.
Oh yeah. No, I feel you. Well, here, while you were talking, I thought about this. Let's make some bold predictions. Your boldest prediction for next season. Whether it can be a player, whether it can be about the team. Here, I'll go first. I was gonna say we're gonna have a top 10 defense next year. Bold prediction. We are gonna be just polar opposite what we were this past season. Our defense is going to be dominant at least 90% of the games we play. That is my bold prediction. With the change from Joe Barry to Jeff Haley, and hopefully with the draft, we're just going to have a hopefully lights out defense. Top 10 defense, in my mind, lock for next season. Noah?
Yeah, I'll kind of go along with that. Another player I love is Rashawn Gary. And I think the Packers could be a team that with him, Preston Smith, Van Ness hopefully makes that turnaround. I think they could be a team that's like top 5 in sacks to kind of go along with that big defense. Even maybe I would love to see Rashawn Gary get his name in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
Absolutely.
So I'll kind of say that's my bold prediction. Packers, one of the top 5, top 3 teams with sacks in the league. Rashawn Gary in the DPOY discussion.
Hell yeah. No. Yeah. Todd?
And then one of the things I really started to notice end of the season was our scoring efficiency. Like once we started moving the ball, we were almost always scoring a touchdown. It was almost every time we were in the red zone, touchdown. And I think the Green Bay has a chance to be top 5 or 10 in scoring efficiency in the season. Because if they can do that, with this new defense they're going to be bringing in, they're going to be blowing teams out of the water. If they can just keep putting touchdown after touchdown up on the board, instead of having to like resort to field goals, they're not going to have to worry about too many games or teams.
No, you are correct. If we can basically do what we did to the Cowboys, just run the score up, and then we can just kind of comfortably, we don't have to play aggressive, but just play aggressive enough that we can burn clock, and we'll be able to take teams down. Well, I think we've beat this dead horse enough for everyone who's not a Green Bay fan. If you are a Green Bay fan, hope you enjoyed our talk about this. We're obviously all looking forward to the draft, seeing what Green Bay does, and how we're going to implement those guys that we draft into our team. And hope, like our bold predictions say, we're expecting high things for the defense and our offense next season. Again, guys, thank you for being here. To wrap up the show, we do what we normally do. I'm going to grab the jar. And which one of you wants to pick the question?
You got it, no?
You pick it.
Here you go. Yep. There might be. I was gonna say you can read it if you want. Just if there's a name. Is there a name on it? I was gonna say. Is there sorry, I'm not trying to. Oh, there is none. But there you go.
What is a song from a childhood movie that went super hard and is a classic banger?
This is one I came up with. I was. I'll give you guys time to think. I thought when I wrote this question, my first thought went to the Goofy movie, and I
haven't seen that.
I love that movie.
The Goofy movie, and I have to go with Eye to Eye at the end of the Goofy movie. Just one of the every time I won't lie to you, I have it on my phone. Like that's how much I just love that song. It is one of the best, like I guess more pop version like Disney songs because you listen to it and you're like is it sort of sounds like Michael Jackson to me, at least when I first heard it. That's who I thought it was, but obviously it's not. But I have to say that's one of my favorite songs of all time, just from a kids movie.
I kind of have two answers. The first thing that popped in my mind, it's more of a modern movie, but I know it could be for kids. I think of Jack Black singing Peaches in the Mario movie. That one slaps. But for me personally, the best soundtrack in any movie I love is The Lion King. That was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Every song on there is like a banger. Even the ones that aren't well known. So I would say that.
No, I really appreciate. I appreciate you saying that. I was gonna say, when I was a little kid, that was my movie. My grandparent, each one of my grandparents had a VHS of Lion King because that's all I would watch. So no, you're not wrong. A lot of good songs on the Lion King soundtrack. So, Todd?
I'm kind of stuck between two right now. The first one that really came to my mind was "On My Way" from Brother Bear.
I have that one on my phone too.
I love that one. I love that song. And the other one I'm kind of stuck between is "Life Is a Highway" from Cars.
That's good too.
Yeah. I love both of those songs.
Two very solid choices. I'm pretty sure I have both those songs on my phone. That is crazy. That's absolutely hilarious. But solid choices. Well, that's basically the end of the episode. Before we end it, I got something for both of you. We just got new merchandise for Allegedly a Podcast. Hold on, let me make sure I'm giving you each one. That one's for you, Noah.
Okay, thank you.
And that's one's for you, Todd. So it's got our logo, and on the back, it's got our QR code. It takes you to our YouTube page.
That's great branding.
If anyone watching or listening, if you ever see either one of these two walking around, or I know I've handed these shirts out to a couple different people. If you see them with Allegedly a Podcast, tell them to turn around, scan scan the code on their back of their shirt, takes you to the YouTube page. We're always looking for more subscribers, whether that be on YouTube or Facebook. We do have a Twitter that I'm not really good at handling, but follow us, give us a listen. We really appreciate it. And again, really appreciate both of you taking time out of your busy schedules to be here and to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Hope to have you guys on at some other point. We can talk football. This is a podcast that we love talking about football, whether that be college or mostly pro, but hope you guys come back at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. If you made it this far, listen to the podcast, thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.